eat nuts, and kick butts.
Hello and happy holidays, Rivals fans, and welcome back to the Rivals Report, the show that gets you up to speed on Rivals esports news in a nice, bite-sized package. My name is Diatonic, and this is the Rivals Report number 29 for the week of December 22nd, 2025. On this week's report, we're bringing you some updates on the 5th season of the Marvel Rivals Championship, including some of the teams to look out for. We're also introducing one of the teams competing in the MRC, chatting with them about their experience at Ignite, as well as their thoughts on the game's newest hero. And the Menace Rivals League is back with their Season 2 kickoff. See the new and old teams entering the fray for this next round of competition with some feature match highlights. The 5th season of the Marvel Rivals Championship is well underway, and several past and present Ignite competitors are entering the fray for this season's tournament. Old rosters return for another round of competition, while some new rosters are combining several free agents to test their mettle and help build their resume ahead of a seemingly imminent 2026 Rivals Esports reveal. We're here to bring you some more info about the factions competing, as well as give you a broad strokes overview of how the MRC qualifiers have shaken out. In the Americas region, more than 500 teams are registered to compete in the MRC this time around. The top 128 teams in the open qualifiers would advance directly to the double elimination phase of the tournament, with the remaining teams being sent to the closed qualifiers. And with Ignite competitors being welcomed into this season's MRC, there are bound to be sparks flying all across the time stream. The spread of competition spanned from some recognizable Tier 2 faces like Cafe Rose and the Beasts, to returning org names like Nightmare and Rat Academy, and even Extinction and Shigigami as well. Some teams like Ego Death and Mutants rose from the ashes of transferred players and roster swaps. And there were some dark horses near the top of the leaderboards as well, like Death Seeker. But the team standing tall in the open qualifiers was Mochimon, featuring some familiar names such as Month, Fraud, Tap, Nectar, Techie XD, and more. And of the 383 teams that were sent on to the closed qualifiers, another 128 of them would be able to advance to the next stage. Teams like STX, Realm, Crab Army, and others would survive to double elimination. There's a bit of a mystery brewing in the EMEA region's MRC this time around. 260 teams stepped onto the pitch for open qualifiers, again with the top 128 advancing straight to double elim. Powerhouses in the region like Navi, Chopped, and Foot Esports entered with their current competitive roster. And we saw some other familiar Tier 2 entities in the likes of Planet Sainage, Crownfall, Final Dance, and even Menace. But the team that bested all the competition was Chicken Jockey. This team is the Pallet Team, made up of members like Pallet Bucky, Pallet Penny, Pallet Rogue, and so on, all being captained by Pallet Man. There were some very interesting players in the closed qualifiers as well. Schmungus made its return, seen during Ignite Stage 1, and led by Necros, supported by a swath of Rivals content creators. They ended up taking first place in the closed quals, trailed by another interesting team in Legcord, featuring Ignite commentator Leg Day. The Pacific region MRC saw teams from both Asia and Oceania duking it out, with plenty of familiar names just like the other regions, and 157 teams entering the open qualifiers. The big Pacific names are back in action here: Crazy Raccoon, Chopper Mag, Brainstorm, Fury, Vulcan Red, and so on. There are a couple of other interesting returning teams here, like the former Zero Tenacity roster still running under the Z10 name, and Xavier Hope. Flat's Fan Club would finish first in the open qualifiers, a not so familiar name that finished many of its games in under 5 minutes. The Season 5 MRC is shaping up to be a blazing hot competition, with Rivals pros looking to keep themselves sharp ahead of the second season of competition, and up-and-comers shooting their shot at ascending to the next level. There are some serious dream matchups on the horizon, so stay tuned and be sure to check out some replays in-game ahead of the official broadcast. It's a great opportunity to discover some new players and teams before Ignite kicks back off. We'll continue bringing you coverage and match highlights until the new champions are crowned. And speaking of the MRC, we wanted to get more up close and personal with some of the competitors in this tournament to tell you the stories of some of the game's up-and-comers. This week, we sat down with members of EMEA squad Dawncore to get their takes on the past year of competition, the year ahead, and specifically some questions about the game's newest hero, Rogue. We spoke with Matty, leader of the team, about the challenges they've faced and the things they're looking forward to next year. We also chatted with Dawncore Vanguard player TreeMan, who's emerged as one of the top rogue players on the leaderboard, to get some insight about the game's newest character. Regarding the team, we asked, where do you feel the team is at now compared to the start of the year?
So I definitely feel like the team has grown quite a lot and we've gotten quite a bit stronger, especially having kept the same roster for a little bit now. I also think that having experience in Stage 2 Ignite and playing every MRC that we can is also going to help us in the future.
Heading into the next year of Rivals, what are the goals for the team?
We would definitely like to prove ourselves in any future Ignite or major tournament coming up. Ideally, even make it to a LAN event. I think that would be pretty cool for the whole team.
What are you most proud of within the last year?
I think just how much we've grown as a team, and of course our qualification to Stage 2 Ignite. We're very happy we got to have that experience and play in the biggest tournament that Marvel Rivals has.
What were some of the challenges for Dawncore in the past year?
I would say since the meta changes quite often, adapting to the meta and what the enemy plays and what is strong in the current patch, we were not really good at before. And our biggest challenge was definitely our loss in Stage 2 Ignite against Vice in the best of 3. We were kind of depressed for a while after that one because we did not pull off the performance that we wanted, and it was also very close.
What lessons do you feel you and the team learned?
We've definitely learned to play better as a team, be more coordinated, and also just play what's strong in the meta. We also have more experience now thanks to Ignite and so many MRCs that we're going to be better under pressure than we used to.
As mentioned, we also sat down with TreeMan to discuss the game's newest tank and where she's starting to fall in the competitive Rivals space. To start things off, we asked, where do you feel Rogue sits currently in the Vanguard hierarchy?
I would say Rogue is probably like A tier, especially if she has the Gambit team up. That shit does a lot of damage, I gotta be honest. And I think she's somewhat niche though. I do think if both teams are like playing triple support and Groot is banned, I think she can like do a lot.
What are some techniques or strategies that set a great Rogue player apart from a good one?
Rogue actually has a lot of different types of tech. A lot of tech. One of them is in her E. When you get the 2 shoot thingies, you can get a melee in before you shoot, and you can like animation cancel. This allows you to like one clip like Mantis and stuff, and also while doing it, you can also get shift-ins. Another tech on Rogue is also when you grab someone to steal their abilities. If you just wait out the timer, you get like a shorter cooldown on your grab again. So let's see here. If you don't use it, it goes on a cooldown for like 15 seconds compared to if you do use it. I can show you. Just a sec, I'm just press it, because even if you just press it, it will like count as it being used. I can show you here. It will change to 20 seconds. The last thing on Rogue is I would advise you to like know what character's ability you steal, and also who you steal. Who you can steal an ability from and who you can't. If we take like Angela for example, instead of getting an ability, you just get your shift back, which can be very useful in a lot of scenarios.
What do Rogue's best and worst matchups look like?
Rogue is actually really good for like taking 1v1s or like looking to kill someone who's off angling, or just to peel your backline if they're getting if the enemy is playing dive. Rogue's best matchup is probably if enemy is playing like Mag or Strange or something, because you can just keep poking, and like you can also like easily kill off angles without them like being able to support it. Also, Rogue is actually really nice against characters like Angela as such. I can show you, because the like all the stuns she has just can like perma like force it to the ground, which is really nice. Rogue's worst matchup is probably like Feng or like Penny, who can like do a big AoE like denial, which especially Feng is insanely bad for Rogue, because she's very ability like reliant, because you will not like get value from just punching. You need to like go in and do like crazy like Tekken combos, you know.
Do you feel there's a particular team composition she shines in?
I do feel like the best comp that fits Rogue here is probably playing triple support into triple support. That is because with these games, like ults are so important, like the cycle of ults and like the usage of ult like makes or breaks a team.
And for all the aspiring Vanguard players out there, what are some things they should be doing to take their game to the next level?
The best thing you can do on Vanguard is to know what type of role your Vanguard is, you know. There's like 3 main, there's like poke, brawl, and there's dive. And if you just know like the playstyle of the character you play, you won't like in as much, and you'll know like more when to engage, disengage, and like play better with your team.
And finally, for both of our subjects, the all-important final question, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes, it is. It's something that goes between bread, so I would say it qualifies as a sandwich.
It's a hot dog. Hello?
Thanks to both Matty and TreeMan for their time on these interviews. We're hoping to do more continuing coverage on the MRC over the next few weeks. We'd love to bring more of a spotlight to the event, since it feels as though it can get a bit overshadowed by Ignite, community tournaments, and so on. If you and your team would like to get featured, don't hesitate to reach out. My Twitter DMs are always open, or just shoot me an email. And finally this week, the Menace Rivals League didn't keep us waiting long for the next round of action. The Season 1 champs may have just been crowned, but Season 2 is already well underway. There's a slew of new and old faces competing here, with some of the teams being promoted up from Division 1 after solid performances last season. I was back in the booth with Mau to ring in the new season, and we've got some highlights for the first week of matches. We had a pair of new faces in Division 1 to kick off the broadcast, as Sempernox were taking on 0-1 in this first match. Burnin' T'Challa was first on the list, and Sempernox opened strong here. But 0-1 would make them sweat, pushing it to the limit on point 2, though Nox would ultimately make a final flip to take the map. 0-1 were gunning for a clapback on Hall of Djalia, clearing the map first and locking in a heck of a defense. They'd ultimately win the map and take the series to Midtown for the decider. 0-1 were just inches away from clearing the mean streets of New York. But getting stopped short wouldn't matter, as Sempernox will be held shy of checkpoint 1, giving 0-1 the series win. Another match of new blood in the MRL was up next, as the second match of the night was Forius versus Glanton Gang. They'd start their bout on Krakoa, and while Forius would put up a fight on both points, they'd ultimately go to Glanton for the map 1 win. Next stop, Symbiotic Surface, and Glanton were on deck first to attack. They'd go barreling through the Forius defense here, but got caught on the back foot when Forius came blasting out of the starting gate after halftime. They'd capture a swift checkpoint 1, but Glanton's defense would eventually find the stop after seriously lights out brawling. We welcome back some familiar faces to the MRL for the third match, as Remake Esports, formerly Blazing Bloom, were up against Menace. This was a champion versus champion bout, with Remake winning back in Season 0 and Menace taking the crown in Season 1. The battle began on Burnin' T'Challa, and they'd go the distance on the very first map. Point 3 was decided in a nail-biter overtime, but Menace would ultimately claim Burnin' T'Challa for themselves. It was off to Spider Islands next, and Remake would be up against an iron curtain of a defense from Menace, but they'd power through and stop just short of checkpoint 2. But it just wouldn't be enough, and Menace would reach the finish line for both this map and the series. And the final match of the broadcast also featured some MRL veterans, with Militia's Apollo squad taking on Black Viper. The last match started off with Burnin' T'Challa yet again, and though it looked like Black Viper were taking it to a point 3, Apollo would go from 0 to 100 and capture point 2 as well as the map. Yggdrasil Path was next on the docket, and though Black Viper struggled against Apollo's offense a bit, they'd nearly hit the second checkpoint before ultimately being stopped. It looked like Black Viper might lock in a miracle hold to take the series to a map 3, but Apollo would find the breakthrough in overtime and close out the set 2-0. It's full steam ahead here in the MRL, with the first week of Season 2 in the books and Week 2 already well underway. There are some new faces in Division 1, both due to joining the league, as well as some teams being promoted up from Division 2. They're all certainly worth keeping an eye on, especially considering that some of these squads are duking it out in the MRC as well. For more on the Menace Rivals League and to catch all their broadcasts, be sure to check the links in the description. Well, that's all for this week's Rivals Report. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on the latest in Marvel Rivals Esports. And be sure to follow me on other platforms, including Twitch, X, and TikTok. I've been Diatonic, you've been amazing, and I'll see you in-game.